Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning everyone, salam dan bahagia. Distinguished speaker, respected lecturer, and dear student from Indonesia and the Philippines, and also all participants. It is my great pleasure to welcome all of you today's international sharing session with the theme Global Culture and Local Identity, a cross-cultural comparison of Indonesia and the Philippines. On behalf of the Management Study Program, Faculty of Economics, Universitas Sarjana Wiyata Siswa, Indonesia, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to IMPSM for organizing this meaningful event. I also warmly welcome to our speaker and participants, especially our friends from the Philippines. Today, we live in a global world where understanding different culture is just as important as having an academic knowledge. As a future business leaders and professionals, we need to learn how to work with people from different backgrounds while staying proud of our own identity and values. I hope today's session will not only help us understand the similarities and difference between Indonesia and the Philippines, but also inspires us to build friendship, exchange ideas, and learn from one another. This is valuable opportunity to broaden our global perspective while appreciating our local culture. To all participants, I encourage you to actively join the discussion, ask questions, and enjoy this learning experience. Finally, I wish you all a productive and inspiring session. By saying Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, IRB officially declare the international sailing session is open. Thank you very much. Salam. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bye bye. Thank you.
presentation. Miss Angelica and Miss Jana, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Am I audible? Am I audible? Am I audible, Ron? Thank you so much for having us, everyone. We are truly honored to be able to talk about the very place where we grew up in and where most of our memories are encapsulated, also known as the Philippines, or in our language, ang Pilipinas. So there is nothing more exciting than to discuss something that we love and are proud of. Um,
Mga kaibigan from Indonesia, this is our love letter from the Philippines. Love the Philippines celebrates our tourism slogan, Love the Philippines, to a complimentary close by simply add a comma, making it into an intimate letter from us. As you can see here, you are shown this beautifully shaped font along with image. Now, let's wait. We have some technical difficulties. So while waiting, may I ask everyone how is everyone doing today? Is everyone awake? Is everyone did everyone have their breakfast? Or so may I ask you, what comes into your mind when you hear the word Philippines? When you hear our country, what comes into your mind? So you may comment your answers in the chat box, or I'm gonna call someone to answer. Hello, going once, going twice. So may I ask, Miss Rosinta Pasaribu, how are you doing today?
I'm good.
So what goes into your mind when you hear the word Philippines? Do you remember beaches or maybe jeepneys?
Your voice is not good. Sorry, your voice is not good. Sorry, your voice is not good.
Yes, said Kayla. And India, maybe Manila is what comes to mind when you think of the Philippines. That is true. So Manila is our capital here in the Philippines. It is in the middle of the three islands. So I'm so sorry we are having technical difficulties because our internet connection is not stable.
So we have a little game before we proceed to our discussion. We want everyone to try and participate in this game. So you can scan this code here, and it's going to show you to a link where you can provide us one word that comes to your mind when you think of the Philippines so that everyone can participate. And we can see it. Or, sorry. That means thank you or love the food. Can you share us your favorite food here? If you have tried Filipino food, probably. Yeah. You can add more. Confused. Someone is confused about the Philippines. Jollibee. Jollibee. You're aware of Jollibee? You love Jollibee. The red bee. Yes. He's very cute. And yet, okay. The catty. Yes. Filipinos are great singers. Yes. Did you know Olivia Rodrigo and Biba Tubi? They are half Filipinos, I think. But we are not singers. I don't think Filipinos are great singers. Maybe most Filipinos. So what else? The sun. Yes, it is very hot in here, to be honest. Then the islands. Kumusta? Walang anuman. I like this. Maganda. Maganda means beautiful. Like us. You're all good maganda, everyone. So, shall we proceed now to the discussion? Or do you still have ideas? I think the main thing that you're thinking about is our capital, Manila. Yes, it's a very beautiful city filled with buildings and the coffee shop. President. Now let us proceed back to our presentation. So, although separated by the Salabas and Sulu Seas, Indonesia and the Philippines share something deeper than geography. We are both archipelagos, as we all know, shaped by centuries of trade, colonization, migration, and now globalization. Yet, despite these global influences, our local identities remain remarkably alive. And today, we'd like to share what being Filipino looks like, but not through textbooks or statistics, but through the ordinary moments of everyday life. The
And with the recent report of national mapping and research information, we currently have less than 10,000 islands than Indonesia, approximately 7,641 islands, and only 2,000 are inhabited. To clearly define these islands, they have been subdivided into three major groups: Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. As for us, we live in a simple province in the northern part of Luzon.
very top of the and so, so with that many islands, especially in Indonesia, you can probably guess what comes next. There is an enormous diversity in our country. We have different regions, different local languages, different food, and even different festivals. So being Filipino was never really about the sameness. It was always about many different local identities existing under one flag.
In our language, we say, naibag na tao. And then in our language, we say, magandang umaga. And in yours, salamat po. Language is perhaps one of the best examples of this diversity. While Filipino and English are our official languages, more than 180 languages and dialects are spoken across the country. Here in Ilocos Norte, for example, we speak Ilocano at home, which is our mother tongue. Filipino in everyday conversation speak people from other regions, and English in many classrooms and professional settings. Between languages, even within the same conversation. Something many Filipinos do naturally. We call it code switching. And perhaps you've already noticed a little bit of that today. In many ways, our languages tell the story of our history. Indigenous words exist alongside Spanish loanwords and English expressions, reflecting centuries of cultural exchange while still remaining uniquely Filipino.
But of course, culture isn't only reflected in the way we speak or celebrate, it can also be seen in what we wear. So traditionally, Filipino men wear the barong Tagalog, an embroidered formal shirt made from delicate fabrics such as piña or Juli, while women wear the elegant Filipiniana or Maria Clara dress. So Maria Clara is actually character in a book from our written by our national hero, Dr. Jose Rizal. And she is this very elegant character uh, that people expects a Filipino woman to be. And she wears this Filipiniana, known for its iconic butterfly sleeves. And across the country, many regions also preserve their own weaving traditions. As for our home province in Ilocos Norte, we are especially proud of our inabel, a hand-woven textile crafted by Ilocano artisans using wooden looms. So we create these patterns, and it's a very intricate activity that is done by the elders. And we are really proud of it, and we are trying to modernize it as well. It is known for its durability and craftsmanship. Inabel reflects generations of tradition and creativity, and today it continues to inspire both traditional garments and modern fashion. So these pieces are often worn during graduations, weddings, state occasions, and cultural celebrations, reminding us that our heritage can still be a part of contemporary life. So as you can see on the screen, the first one is the Barong Tagalog worn by men, and then the next one is the Filipiniana, and our other cultural clothing that is worn by our indigenous peoples. Ayan.
So today, like most of the world, Filipinos wear modern clothing influenced by global fashion trends. You'll find us wearing jeans, sneakers, oversized shirts, or even Korean-inspired outfits on campus. Yet during important occasions, many of us proudly return to our traditional attire or incorporate woven textiles like Ibel into modern designs. Not because we have to, but because they remind us of where we came from. It's another example of how global culture and local identity can beautifully coexist.
As you can see, we are wearing normal clothes right now. We don't usually wear traditional clothes, but when it comes to big events, we always go back to this outfit. Yeah. But and perhaps the simplest way to understand what binds all these differences together is through our national motto, which is the makajos, makatao, makakalikasan at makabansa, which means in English, for God, people, nature, and country. Although every Filipino has their own unique story, these four ideals continue to shape how many of us see the world. They remind us to value our faith, and as you may know, 90% of us are Christians here, and we also have Muslims in this country, and we really value our faith and religion here. And we also care for one another, which is the Makatao. We protect the environment that surrounds our islands and we take pride in the nation we all call home. And as you listen to our stories today, you'll probably notice these values quietly appearing again and again, not because we planned them that way, but because they're deeply woven into the everyday Filipino life. And that's really the heart of what we want to show you today. Because yes, geographically we are divided and quite literally by water, but somehow across thousands of islands just like you and hundreds of languages, there is still this thread that runs through almost every single Filipino in us.
So before we tell you about our lives today, it helps to
So, to easily understand our diverse yet unified community, it is best to magnify closer to the daily lives of Filipinos, where culture is apparently loud, colorful, and vibrant. And today we are going to walk you through our very own lives, because who else can offer you the vivid picture if not 20 something Filipino students who are witnesses to the little things that make us true Filipinos? So, today, please imagine us not as your tour guides, but as your long lost pen pals from the other country, telling you stories about our very own experiences, our home, our town, our school, our families, and the things that make us laugh and the things that make us cry. So, now let us start our liham, or in English, our letter, with a simple phrase that is usually written in our letters and in our text messages. Today we ask you, Kumusta ka na? So tell us, how are you? Or in your language, apa kabar? How was your morning? Have you guys eaten? Are you guys okay from Indonesia or from the Philippines, or if someone is watching from our own country? Kumusta ka na is sounds so simple, but Filipinos ask it like they actually want the full answer. And then after asking about you, we provide to you our own stories. So shall we proceed with the start of our letter? Let us start at our own homes. So in the Philippines, home rarely means just parents and siblings. It often means that our grandparents, or what we call our lolo and lola, living under the same roof or just a street away. It means aunts, uncles, and cousins who feel more like extended siblings than distant relatives. So we are actually in our sitio. Sitio is like a smaller part of our barangay, like a village. Every single house in that village is are my relatives. I don't even know what what connection we have, but I'm pretty sure we're all very distant relatives. And that's why at home, our meals are rarely eaten alone. Once the food is cooked, the cooker will say kaina or come eat. And it is said not just for the family. If a guest happens to be in the house and the table is set, they are expected to also eat. And that encapsulates also the I'm a proud stereotype of it because we Filipinos are actually very hospitable and welcoming and friendly, and we hope we exude that energy right now. We hope we're being welcoming and friendly to you as well. So, aside from that, Jana, what can you say about household?
Same. We have the same sentiments since we live in the same area and we live. So so does anyone know what this gesture is called? Anyone?
You can type in your answers, or you can raise your hand if you want. It's a polite gesture that Filipino children do, especially to the elders. They take their hand, put it in their forehead, like
Going up, going up. But everyone, you know what this gesture is called?
you will win a trip to the
Literally 5 days, 4 nights.
5 days, 4 nights in the Philippines.
So, so it seems that no one is familiar with this gesture. So this is how we greet our elders. This is how we show respect to them by greeting them with this gesture called mano. So mano po, as you get them. So greeting elders isn't just words. So it's a gesture called mano. So it's gently taking an elder's hand and pressing it to your forehead as a sign of respect. It is done every day, not just on special occasions. So when you leave school, arriving home, saying good night, you children do this. And underneath all of this, it's a value many Filipinos carry quietly throughout their lives. Utang na loob, so it's a debt of gratitude, especially towards small. So it's not a literal debt, but it's the reason so many Filipino children grow up caring for their parents in old age. The same way they were
they were once cared for, respected, of one kind lesson often becomes a lifelong experience. So once you step outside the house, the letter continues. Because in the Philippines, home doesn't really end at the front door. It spills out into the street. A typical Filipino street functions like one big extended family, even among people who aren't related at all. Children play outside until the streetlights come on, and somehow every parent of the street unofficially watches over every child, not just their own. So that's actually why sometimes it is really hard to date, to have someone special because your neighbor's news is faster than your parents from your own mom. So your neighbors will know or that's before your parents know. So knowing that in an Asian household, these things are pretty strict for the children, especially for the young girls. So, as I think the answer is shown here, this cute little stall that we have, it is called a sari-sari store, which you can see in almost every neighborhood or in every street in the Philippines. It is a small home-based shop selling everything from instant coffee to shampoo sold by the sachet. So, are you guys aware of sachets? Because in the Philippines, we buy in sachets, or as we call it, tingi-tingi, or like in small portions, which are almost always present in a nearby small store like this. But these are never just a store. It's where news travels, where kids buy snacks with coins, where neighbors linger to chat. It's it it has become less of a business and more of a meeting point for Filipino people, and they create mundane but cute memories in stores like this. And in our neighborhoods, especially in semi-urban areas, houses are always close to each other. So when someone is always cooking something and the smell finds its way into everyone else's kitchen too, and if a neighbor needs help moving furniture, borrowing rice, watching a child for an hour, like Jana said, no one asks why us? No one takes the blame. It's simply expected, especially when trust is already built within the neighborhood. It is the way home life at the start of the letter taught you show up for people, even the ones outside your own four walls. And um, there's actually a story that I want to share that encapsulates this showing up behavior of neighborhood in the Philippines. Because one time my tito, or what we call an uncle, my tito, and his family had a trespasser in their building, or in our language, what we call an akyat bahay. So when you break down the word akyat bahay, akyat means climb, and bahay means house. So someone climbed your house. We're like saying it like that. So someone who enters homes without permission and often with the intention to rob. So yes, we are not a crimeless nation. It is good to also make you aware of the bad things that are happening in our streets. It is not a perfect country, and I am not even proud of the current state of our government. And you see, during that time, my tito's neighbors immediately called 911, even SWAT and the barangay captain and the barangay tanod, as if it was some kind of a murder scene. And they immediately arrested this troubled man. It was at that time that his family realized that even if they do not really know each other that much in the neighborhood, they always look out for each other, which is a really touching gesture, especially on dangerous times like that. So whether it's a neighbor's watchful eye, a sachet of shampoo borrowed in a pinch, or an entire street rallying together, to help you. The lesson from our neighborhood is the same one we learned at home, that nobody really goes through anything alone here, even the hard, messy, imperfect parts. And maybe that's the clearest sign of what's coming next in our letters, because this instinct to show up for one another has a name in the Philippines. It is bigger than just one street, one neighborhood. This spirit carries entire towns, especially when things fall. And we call it the Bayanihan, and that's the letter we want to write to you next, to be discussed by John.
So, bayan, let's actually break the word down first. So it comes from bayan, which means town or community. Or even nation, depending on how you use it. Bayanihan, it means part of a community acting next. Here's the story behind it. Promise this isn't just me down the risks. So here's the other thing. Which one of this itself. There's actually a song about this. So does anyone know this house is called?
It's made of, its roof is made of leaves, and it's,
Yes, and it's made entirely out of wood. So, this house is called this traditional house we have in the Philippines.
starts with K.
Okay, so I think no one is familiar with this house. So back in the day, Filipino houses called bahay kubo, palantir, and vacants were light enough that an entire community could physically live one up. So when a family needed to move to a new spot, the whole family would come together, literally carry the house on their shoulders using bamboo poles and walk to its new location. No machine, no payment, no contracts, just neighbors. So we don't really have that in the shoulders, obviously. But the spirit doesn't disappear. It just changed shape. You see it every time a typhoon hits, and communities move as relief goods before government aid even arrives. Also, just recently, had a fire accident that covered the entire public market in one city. And it was really inspiring to see how leaders took a Indonesian lives only hours from the incident. Plus, we also saw it during the pandemic. Community pantries popped up out of nowhere. Just tables of food on the side of the road with a simple sign. Take what you need, leave what you can. No one urgent, no one taking more than they need. So that's bayanihan. It's not really a high kubo anymore. It's about instinct within us Filipinos to lend a hand.
And now we are diverting away from the neighborhood. We are now in a public transportation. Let's pretend that we are going back to school. It's balik eskwela season, and getting there is its own little adventure. For a lot of Filipino students, commuting means taking this public transportation. So, can anyone guess what its name is? I think we have mentioned this at the start of our presentation. So, are you aware of the name of this maximalized design transportation? Starts with J.
Um, Four letters. I have bunch of this in the start of the session.
J and ends with P.
You can put it in the chat box.
It rhymes with
With me. So this is the Shishma Gayakan. I'm so sorry if I'm not pronouncing it.
You're right.
Yes,
Congratulations. You mean a trip, trip to the Philippines. So this jeepney, this colorful, illuminated vehicle that actually started out as the way back during the US military jeeps for World War II, which Filipinos then rebuilt and made it their own. They stretched it out and decorated it with bright colors and even put mini horses on the hood and sometimes even names painted across the top, like the one you can see here, Filipinas. But usually it's quotes. The jeepney drivers usually put quotes or even the name of their girlfriends. So I think something that we can compare it to Indonesia is what you call an angkot. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I've done my a little research and you have what we call an angkot, right? And as for our jeepney, riding one is an experience in itself. There's no fixed schedule, there's no assigned seats. You just wave it down, you hop in, you compress yourself inside and pass your fare down the line of passengers to the driver. So you trust complete strangers to pass your exact change back without ever checking. And somehow it always works out for us because in that short ride you you see people that are also going to places that we don't know about and we appreciate and honesty the honesty of the person beside you and you may meet small cross section of the entire country in that one ride. You can meet a tita who is maybe balancing grocery bags on her lap, or a student reviewing notes for an exam she's clearly not ready for, like us. We have tried that actually. Or a manong, which is an older man who might strike up a random conversation about you, about the weather or the politics, and or ask where you're headed. So you meet strangers in this simple transportation, but somehow you may realize that they're not really strangers.
so most actually slow down. Philippines life runs a little differently than we might expect. Most Filipino students spend their entire basic education, sometimes even college, with the same group of classmates, what we call a section. You don't just see them, you see them every single day for years. So we call our classmates end up feeling less like acquaintances and more like second family by the time you graduate. We are very emotional and easily attached people, to be honest. College is where things really shift though. Almost every college campus in the Philippines has dozens of student organizations, and during the first few weeks of the first semester, they all compete for your attention. Most of their older neighbors performing little pitches, sometimes even mini performances, all trying to convince freshmen, sumali ka sa amin. So you're saying to us, join us. It's less like signing up for a club, but more likely get into a small tribe. So big campus events also become full productions. So for us, we have intramurals, so we call it interns. Individual sports competitions, team colleges, complete cheer dances, and painted faces. And once you're deep into work life, you start collecting titles too. So we have titles such as officer, committee head, even sometimes even EVP, president. Yes, we're actually officer, president, or president. So fun fact, we're actually officers of our own academic organization. Actually, not being that big. So most is external vice president for external affairs, and I am the executive president of our organization. So these titles come with real responsibility, but also real curiosity. So, and then there's
another side of it, the actual academic grind. So there's thesis season, that thesis hell becomes its own shared trauma, bonding experiences, trading panic messages with classmates at midnight, and celebrating together with someone successfully defends. So when the graduation finally arrives, it's a whole spectacle of its own. So there's calls, there's phones, there's sometimes even lost guy. Like cheers meets or even emotions starts feeling like a school it becomes a family. Open to the true curiosity of the past. And I think the best way to portray our student life, oh my god, is, wait lang po kayo. Yes. Um, to understand it better, I think we can show you a parody of our high school life in the Philippines made by Asmir, who is actually a very famous comedic figure here in the Philippines. You can search him up in TikTok or on YouTube, and he creates these parodies about Filipino high school. It can be shown how it is completely different from Western schools, and here the nerds have the power instead of the jocks. And he dresses up as different characters. And these characters are really existing inside our high school that way. That's why it resonates with us. And he is very well loved with what he is doing. And we can play a few minutes of this series. There's the jeep. There's the jeep. And sometimes the students also ride their bikes or even their cars. apologize. Our other laptop got. So that was just a guess at the project done. Here you can see it's spelled ESNYR, and it can showcase the student life of Filipinos. And now let us proceed to our fiesta season. And now, during school vacations naman, or school breaks and holidays, we usually spend them with our fiestas, parties, and celebrations. And something that might surprise you, the Philippines doesn't really have one national fiesta. Almost every single town has their own fiesta or festival, usually tied to patron saint or a competitive advantage that city or municipality has. And the dates are different everywhere, so depending on where you are in the country, fiesta season could be happening basically any month. And as for us in our city, which is the city of Batak, we have our own orange themed festival. So can you guess our festival? Let's see. It's based off from this food. Is anyone aware of this food? It actually got its trending moment recently as food influencers tried to recreate it. Um, this is what we call the empanada, and it is this savory food filled with papaya, longganisa, and egg. And sometimes our cooks get a little creative and they add cheese or they add pamflet to it, which is like a meat. So in the city of Batak, we celebrate our festival, the Empanada Festival. And what's interesting about our province, Ilocos Norte, which is which is a which is a part which our city belongs to, is that we conduct this competition where every city and municipality fight for their own festivals. It is like the festival of festivals. This is what we call it, the Tanok ni Ilocano. And so our empanada in Batak, it competes with the pots of San Nicolas, the houses in Lawag, and dancers and actors recreate the story or make up stories about their festivals and really goes all out in presenting their beloved festivals and what symbolizes their hope. So on Fiesta Day, an entire town shuts down its streets. Like literally, roads get blocked off by the police officers or the government for food, music, parades, and sometimes even beauty pageants and basketball tournaments running all at the same time. It's a very loud and vibrant season for the Filipinos, and it is their city's festival. And in any fiesta or party seasons, we also do this kind of thing. We also do this kind of thing where we lay food on top of a long table covered in banana leaves. It is called a boodle pipe, and everyone eating with their hands. As you may know, Filipinos use their hands to eat, and they get beside each other, shoulder to shoulder, to share the food on the long table. And it is loud, it is messy, and it is one of the clearest pictures of Filipino uh, spirit and hospitality. Plus, that's how we celebrate our festivals and how we have fun most of the time. Now, as for but also think about one of the most prominent things that forces school breaks, that forces our school breaks, and these are our typhoons. So, if you're about to get the average number of typhoons that hit the Philippines in a year, that would be 20. So the Philippines, this is just about Indonesia, I think. It sits in a part of the world that gets hit by an average of 20 typhoons a year, and some may be strong, some may be barely noticeable, but a few were truly devastating to the lives of the Filipino people. So storm season isn't a one-time headline for us. It's a recurring part of the calendar, almost like a season of its own that usually starts during this time. And actually, we name them alphabetically as if that could tame the storm. And there is actually an upcoming super typhoon in the Philippines right now that is entering our vicinity, and we are calling it the Typhoon Bobby. It starts with B, so it's the second typhoon for the year. But instead of focusing to the damage, we want to focus on what happens after. When a storm hits, you usually see barangay officials, local community leaders coordinating evacuation centers before national government aid even arrives. And neighbors will start clearing fallen trees and debris together with no assignment needed. So during this terrible time, especially when it comes to super typhoons, we still help each other and lend a hand to those in need. And families who still have a roof will open their homes to those who don't. And when the water rises high enough to make the news, Filipinos abroad usually start organizing relief donations within hours. And we are not saying that it's easy or that nothing ever goes wrong in the response. It definitely does. And we won't pretend our systems are perfect. I mean, there are actually corruption issues on part of our contractors and engineers and politicians that take advantage of flood control budgets. But as for the Philippine ones, we go through these uh, annual events with resilience through community. And this is where Bayanihan is once again, it stops being a folklore and becomes something you can actually live in real time and every single year. In the Philippines.
Hello, I'm back. So, as August slips away, September to November moves fast for us. So more classes, more deadlines, and ordinary life continuing. But there's one thing worth mentioning here. Or infamous for starting Christmas as early as September. Yes, September. So the moment the month ends in birth, malls start playing Christmas songs and houses already have their Christmas lights off. It's often the longest Christmas season in the world, stretching from September all the way to early January. So by the time we get to December,
We've basically been in the mood for 4 months already. So before we proceed to the last month of the year, this year-long letter from us to you, can you guess what is the following? So, ayan, it's a star. So can you see this star in the screen right now? Can you guess what we called it? There is a name for this star. This is a famous decorative piece in the Philippines whenever it is Christmas season. Starts with P. Starts with P. P and ends with L. If you can guess it, you will have a free trip. Just kidding. So I think no one is familiar about this star we have in this on the screen right now. So this star is called Parol. So you'll know Christmas has truly arrived in the Philippines when you start seeing this Parol hanging outside almost every house. So star-shaped lanterns, traditionally made of bamboo and colored paper, meant to represent the star or the Bethlehem guiding the way. Some are simple, hand-made by kids using half these shells or old plastic. Some are creatively made as livelihoods of inmates. Others, especially in places like San Fernando, Pampanga, dubbed the Christmas capital of the Philippines, become giant, elaborate, spinning displays with thousands of lights. But other than that, when it comes to Christmas, there is also what we call the Simbang Gabi. So you can see these three people here were praying inside the church. It is implied that they are conducting what we call the Simbang Gabi. Simba means mass and Gabi means night. So they are going to church at night. This for 9 consecutive days. Usually starting as early as dawn, like 3 to 4 a.m. So imagine that waking up at 3 a.m. to go to the church and pray for 9 consecutive days. This tradition actually goes back to the Spanish colonial period. So would any of you willingly wake up at 4 a.m. for 9 days a row just to make just to make your wish come true? Because they believe that when you complete those days, your wish will come true. And yet, churches fill up every single year, and partly for tradition, partly for faith, and partly this belief was passed down through generations to complete all 9 masses. And whatever you wish for will come true. After the mass, there is always food waiting right outside the church. So you can see here in our screen this puto bumbong, this purple rice cake steamed in bamboo tubes. And we also have bibingka, which is a soft rice cake usually cooked over hot coals. Both best eaten with chocolate drink, chocolate bar like hot, or what we call chocolate. And half the appeal of waking up that early is honestly the food waiting for you after. Then finally, on December 24th, we have the Noche Buena, and you can see it happening in the screen. When it is December 24th, we wait for Christmas to come. Past midnight on Christmas Eve, right after attending the Mass, families gather around the table loaded with food. We have here the lechon, which is this full roasted pig, and it is often the centerpiece alongside with the queso de bola, which is basically bowl of cheese, this waxy Edam cheese wrapped in red, and hamon, which is this sweet Christmas ham. It is less a meal and more an event, sometimes lasting past 1 or 2 a.m. and with the whole extended family joining all together, may they be your grandparents, your aunts, your uncles, your cousins, you are all packed into one house. And aside from that, gift giving has its own rhythm too. Children go around visiting relatives and family friends, sometimes greeting elders with yung pagmamano or mano po at each house in exchange for an aguinaldo at present. Some they ask for a small cash gift, usually tucked into an envelope. And it's not unusual for kids to come home from a single day of visiting with pockets full of these little envelopes from different relatives. Children really means during Christmas season. And December in the Philippines isn't just a holiday. After 4 months of build up since September, it's the payoff, it's the loud, warm, and little chaotic and deeply loved moment by the Philippines.
So, aming mga kaibigan, our friends from Indonesia, a letter is never really complete with just one voice. So now we'd like to hand it over to you, our friends from Indonesia, as you've journeyed with us through a year in the life of jeepneys, powerful fiestas, resilient communities, and the longest Christmas season in the world. You may have noticed that what connects us is a far greater than what sets us apart. Perhaps your stories are told differently. Perhaps your traditions have different names. We say bayanihan and damayan. You say gotong royong. We ride jeepneys, you ride angkots. We greet our elders with mano po. You have your own beautiful expressions of respect. Different cultures, different languages, but the same values of family, compassion, hospitality, and community. That to us is the beauty of Southeast Asia. Globalization may influence the way we dress, the music we listen to, the technology we use, or even the language we speak, but it has never really taken away the values that remind us who we are. Instead, it gives us the opportunity to share our stories, learn from one another, and celebrate both our uniqueness and our similarities. So perhaps global culture, local identity isn't about comparing whose culture is different. Perhaps it's about discovering that despite living on different islands and speaking different languages, we're writing the same story, one of community, resilience, and belonging, just on the opposite shores of the same sea. And with that, our letter reaches its final page. But every good letter deserves a pause. Our friends from Indonesia, we're excited to hear your story.
Yes. Our story may end here, but we hope this story does. So, as the Philippines and Indonesia continue to share the same region, the same seas, and many of the same values, we maybe also continue sharing our stories with one another because every story shared is a bridge built between our vibrant cultures. So, to our friends from Indonesia, thank you for opening and reading our letter. We hope that when you think of the Philippines, you won't remember only our Manila or our festivals, but also the values behind them, the warmth of our people, the strength of our communities, and the pride we carry in calling this country our home. So this has been Rose Tagisola.
And this has been Jana Alejandro.
Maraming salamat.
Terima kasih.
And thank you very much for having us.
Morning, everyone.
Metropolitan hook where tradition meets modernity, skyscrapers rise alongside historic site, while building market forces with luxury malls. As the economic and political center, Jakarta reflects Indonesia dynamic growth and cultural fusion. Next, please. Okay, let's talking about the philosophy, the archipelago country of Indonesia. Next, please. Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let us begin our journey by looking at the physical foundation of my country, Indonesia. Often, when people hear about Indonesia, immediately images that come to mind are Bali or Jakarta, right? However, empirically speaking, Indonesia is the world's largest archipelago state of land and sea, consisting of more than 17,000 islands. If we were to draw a straight line from the westernmost tip in Sabang to the eastmost point in Merauke, the distance spans over 5,000 kilometers. This distance is equivalent to traveling from London to Tehran, or roughly mimicking the entire width of the continental United States. Yet, there is one fundamental difference that separates Indonesia from continental nation. 17% of our sovereign territory is not land but water. From a sociology and geopolitical standpoint, this fragmented geography births as a complex challenge, an extraordinary miracle within this living space, separated by vast ocean, more than 1,300 ethnic group flourish, speaking over 70, 18 distinct regional languages. In classical anthropological theory, such severe geographical isolation, organization, or fragmentation where each major island demands to become its own sovereign nation. Our homeland. The Jakarta city was going on the top leaderboard of tourism city. So, and then it also home to the historic founding of the University of UST. Yeah, UST or our campus, our college.
We highly recommend for visitors, first-time visitors to come to Manila and visit Intramuros, which really um, showcase the history of the Philippines with its architecture, and the activities that we do there are really shows the community that we have. Yes, and if you're fond of beaches, there is also Batangas, where it is also near Manila, so it is more accessible for tourists. Or if you're a more adventurous person, you can go to Boracay. There's a white sand beach there. If you know, it's one of the most visited beaches in the world. It's quite famous tourist destination. Another question: how does the education system in the Philippines help students develop a strong appreciation for their culture while also preparing them to become responsible and competitive global citizens? So we have another question from India. She said, I would like to ask, how does the education system in the Philippines help students develop a strong appreciation for their local culture, while also preparing them to become responsible and competitive global citizens? So in our education system, in our curriculum as early as um, elementary or preschool. So we have our primary education includes our Araling Panlipunan or Hekasi, which revolves around our culture or Filipino values and traditions. And we learn about our national flags, national heroes, national dishes. So we the education system here really integrates and really makes sure that we still embody the traditions we had years ago. And we also have in high school, of course, we still have those subjects, and in college we have uh, Rizal. So we have uh, subject that revolves around our national hero and knowing him, knowing what he did for our country, and the, his sacrifices in gaining, yes, in gaining our independence in the Philippines. Plus, students are more encouraged to uh, hone their own skills that that truly represent our culture, like when it comes to dancing, singing, and artwork. Our schools provide us a lot of competitions that reminds us about our culture and the arts, so that we won't be able to um, forget them and to continue on passing it down to generations.
So we have another question from Paila Anindia Destrian. How does the Philippines preserve its culture and traditions in modern times?
So Filipinos, as we have said earlier, in our activities and in our, for example, our festivals, we still practice the traditional actions or traditional dresses, traditional, uh, in general traditions. So we might not practice it every day, but we make sure to celebrate them and remember them even in these times that it is mostly going digital already. We still practice them through our festivals. Of course, our education system also have that.
And it's very well integrated into our everyday, ordinary life, like the food we eat and the prayers we do and our simple activities. You can truly see that we are still practicing our culture and traditions, even in the most mundane, simple ways, just like from our stories on the discussion. Another question from Evineliana. If you could introduce only one Filipino cultural tradition to Indonesian students, which one would it be and why? Cultural tradition or resiliency. Probably our diba? Thinking about this.
There's so many to choose from.
Balance,
So very resiliency,
that would be the resiliency of Filipinos
and the
and, and the hospitality of Filipinos for being welcoming and friendly to their own homes. Filipinos are very easy to approach, we would say, especially if you're a tourist here. And I think it's important that we practice that good behavior and that politeness that comes from the Filipinos. But also, I guess, how resiliency, during resilience, we also try to have fun. Filipinos are very fun individuals and we we practice our humor and we integrate it in our everyday lives, even when things get hard, even when typhoons washes away our state, we still practice resiliency and learn to smile along the way. Culture shock.
so another question is, if Indonesia and the Philippines exchange students for a month, what do you think would be the biggest culture shock for each side? So the first thing that came into my mind was the language barrier, because since we have different accents also, we might not understand um, what we are saying at the start, but as time may go on, we may understand each other better.
Plus, there are a lot of dialects here. And
Yes.
even we ourselves get culture shock from other regions in the Philippines because we have different accents, we have different ways of saying things, even though they the language barrier in the Philippines, which is culture shock.
So another question here is what do you think is the biggest difference between Indonesian and Filipino student culture? And what can students learn? And what can students from both countries learn from each other? So, for me, in my first, let me explain Filipino student culture first. Since in the Philippines, our school hours are mostly more open than not, 7 a.m. to 5 a.m. So I think in Indonesian student culture that is not the case. I think Indonesian culture is more lenient. So I think that is might be a big difference. And in Filipino student culture, it's very
Loud.
it's very loud and very everyone is
Outspoken.
yes outspoken, very extroverted. Or even if he or she doesn't know you, he will they will definitely approach you. And so I think Indonesian students are generally seen as more reserved and formal. So even here, we are friends with our teachers, our professors. We approach them like
We laugh
our
together.
yes,
Like that. As if
we
we're just
friends. So I think
interact.
that will be a culture shock or might be a big difference in our student culture.
Thank you so much as well, Miss Rosinita.
Then we have to following we have to following by we have to we have to following about the case about the news of Indonesia, and we have to be smart to filtering the bad news. So I think it's my confidence to
Hindi ako nagsusuot. Actually, some of the customs that we have discussed, like the using of po and opo or the pagmamano and speaking local languages are becoming less common with us, especially for the generation C, the generation Alpha, because of global influences. We have low restraint on what we search up on the internet, and sometimes we get influenced with Western lifestyles and Korean lifestyles. And but fortunately, our schools, we celebrate Buwan ng Wika every August, and we teach Filipino culture while families and communities continue to practice our traditions through festivals, as we've said, and our normal everyday lives. We practice our local customs and cultural activities, which helps us maintain our Filipino identity while embracing globalization because we are also integrating ourselves globally. But we are also trying to uh, continue our the legacy from our ancestors. Yes, I think that's it.
Thank you, Miss. Dua negara tetangga yang memiliki budaya yang kaya dan tradisi yang unik, meskipun kita memiliki bahasa, kebiasaan, dan sejarah yang berbeda, kita juga memiliki banyak persamaan seperti nilai kekeluargaan yang kuat, keberagaman budaya, dan kekayaan wisata alam. Melalui sesi berbagi hari ini, kita belajar bahwa perbedaan bukanlah penghalang, melainkan kesempatan untuk saling belajar, dengan saling menghormati, memahami, dan menghargai budaya satu sama lain, kita dapat membangun persahabatan yang lebih erat dan saling kerjasama yang lebih baik antara dua negara. Mari kita terus melestarikan warisan budaya kita sambil bersama-sama menciptakan masa depan yang lebih baik. Terima kasih. Thank you.
Thank you to our moderator and our participants who actively engaged in the discussion.
We now move the certificate awarding session on behalf of the Hamid and Ikatan Mahasiswa Program Studi Management. We would like to express our deep gratitude and appreciation to our distinguished speakers.
We would like to present the certificate of appreciation to our speakers, a token of our thanks for sharing their valuable knowledge and insight today.
First, Miss Angelica, please pause with your certificate for the photo. Okay, please pause. 1, 2, 3. Let's different style. 1, 2, 3.
Next, Miss Jana Maris Elenjandro, please pause with your certificate. Okay, let's picture please. 3, 2, 1. Three, two, one. I'm sorry. Let's take a picture from 3, 2, 1. Okay, different style, please. 3, 2, 1.
Okay, next. Mr. Fabian Arsen Muhammad, please pause with your certificate. Mr. Fabian, please pause. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you to all our speakers. Now, let us take a group photo with the lecturers commit and all participants. Everyone, please make sure your camera is on and smile for the group photo. Silakan kepada seluruh partisipasi untuk mengaktifkan kameranya untuk dokumentasi kita foto bersama. Sekali lagi kami ingatkan untuk semua peserta diharapkan untuk mengaktifkan kameranya.
Please to all participants from Philippines to open your camera. First slide. 1, 2, 3. Next. 1, 2, 3. Next slide. 1, 2, 3. Once again. 1, 2, 3. Thank Thank you. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of today's sharing session. We hope today's sharing session has enriched our understanding of how to adaptively preserve local culture and amid globalization.
On behalf of the entire committee and extend of deep gratitude to our speaker guests and all participants. Thank you for your enthusiastic participation, stay proud of our culture and continue to preserve it wisely. We wish you a wonderful day.
Salam dan bahagia.